I was thinking about what you were saying, and I remember the verse that I read. It kind of made that tangible to me. It said, I'm not exactly sure where the verse was located, but it said, "Look up, lift your eyes." It was two separate commands: look up and then lift your eyes, because you can't focus on Jesus until you throw away all the circumstances that are around you. You can't fully be in His presence until you get rid of those circumstances that are around you that will draw you back into the world. Let's start in Matthew chapter 5. Now, I'd heard a song earlier this week, and it was talking about salt and light, and it kind of made me curious, because I wanted to try to look deeper into the attributes of both of those, and just see what I could find, and starting in verse 13 in chapter 5 of Matthew. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And in the Amplified, it uses the word purpose when it speaks of salt losing its flavor or its savor, losing its purpose. Its intended purpose is to have that flavor, to add that flavor. In times past, salt was commonly used to preserve food. In the case of in Jewish traditions, it was used to actually, they would mix it with like a water, and it would be a brine, and it would help pull the blood out of the meat that they had freshly prepared, before cooking or storing, and it was a preservative and a cleanser. And I think what that says about us being salt. We've been going over faith in the Friday night teachings, and to be a preservative of, to preserve that faith that was once delivered, unto the saints. That's a commandment. That's a strong attribute, of salt, is to be a preservative. And that's what we're called to be, is to preserve that faith, that true faith that was once delivered. What about light? When you think about light, and you think, well, we see things because light bounces off, and scientists today, they'll try to explain, well, we don't know, light could be it's a particle or it's a wave, and they get into all this deep thought, and what it comes down to is basically, I got to thinking, what's the source of light? 2,000 years ago, it was light came from the sun or from the fire that you had started. It was you wouldn't go in somewhere and flip on a switch. You either had to start it with a flint or some other means to get wood to burn, or a wax candle to burn. In other words, unless it was freely provided by the sun, there was work involved to get light in a dark place. There was something you had to do. It was a physical thing that you had to get light. You had to get that fire started. So that it kind of gives more of a meaning to why would you light a candle? Why would you light something and hide it? There's no point in that. Nowadays you flip on a switch, you don't even think about it, and you go out of the room, flip the switch back off, whatever. It's so easy. It's such a easy thing that we don't even think about it anymore. So it's one of those things that there was a lot of work. There was more work involved to get something to burn, to provide light, that today we don't think about. The properties of light. it can't be contained. It can't stand still. It's always moving, and that's what God is. He's always moving, And I remember seeing a documentary of a physicist, and he was trying to explain the speed of light, and he went into these these deep scientific terms and stuff, and basically he started saying, well, the faster you get, or the closer you get to the speed of light, time stands still. And I thought, you know what? He just admitted a biblical truth there. Time has nothing. I mean, God is light, and at the speed of light there is no time. There is no time constraint. Time does not matter, at the speed of light. So, and that's when it kind of struck me. I was like, wow, he just kind of proclaimed a biblical truth there and didn't even realize it, So let's go to 1 Peter. And a few weeks ago, I actually read this verse, but it pertains to this as well. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So we have been sanctified. We've been set apart from the rest of this fallen world. As Christians, we're set apart. We're holy and sanctified, set apart by this light. In John 17, verse 15, I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but thou shouldest keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them through the truth. Thy word is truth. As thou hast sent me into the world, even so have I also sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they might also be sanctified through the truth. So we are supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. We are supposed to be a light to this fallen world. And in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. So we can't be used of God until we put our sin to death. Until we cleanse, until we are cleansed of these things that are not honorable. And today, we hear a message, and this is typical. We hear a message, and the rest of the week we go on, and we may, most of us forget about it. Most of us just kind of go back to what we were doing. And it's one of those things that we hear it, it kind of goes in one ear, out the other. We don't really hang on to it. We don't grasp it. We don't live it. We don't apply it. And I think that until we live in this, we're never going to grasp what God has for us. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light in the Lord. Walk as children of light, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret, but all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he saith, awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. And I looked up verse 11 there in the Amplified. It says, "Do not participate in the worthless and unproductive deeds of darkness, but instead expose them by exemplifying personal integrity, moral courage, and godly character." We are supposed to be a testimony, a walking, living testimony to those around us, to expose, not just saying something's wrong, but showing, by leading by example, that this is something that I do not participate in because it's wrong. It's not godly. It's ungodly. It's something that those do in darkness keep it secret. Christians today, especially today, are stereotyped that they shouldn't be angry. Love, happiness, joy, but no anger. When we see these snares of the world, we should preach against them, but not stop them. We shouldn't protest. We're kind of we're thought of as we've got our place and we need to stay there, and people will listen to us, if they choose to listen to us. But this is something that we should do. Stay out of things, because don't push your opinions on me. That's an offensive thing to do, and in today's world, it's easy to offend. It's so easy to offend anyone. But in Matthew chapter 7. We're told not to judge, and this is where a lot of people will pull that from. Chapter 7, verse 1: "Judge not, that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considerest not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote in thy brother's eye." And in Luke 6, chapter 6, verse 37, "Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven." And these are valid. These are true. I mean, it's saying, how can you judge someone if you're committing the same sin? I mean, how are you going to judge somebody if this is the same thing, that you're doing? What kind of credibility does that have? In John chapter 7, verse 21, Jesus answered and said unto them, "I have done one work, and ye all marvel. Moses therefore gave unto you the circumcision, not because it is of Moses, but of the fathers. And ye on the Sabbath day circumcise a man. If a man on the Sabbath day receive circumcision, that the law of Moses should not be broken, are ye angry at me, because I have made a man every whit whole on the Sabbath day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." So here Jesus is saying, judge righteously. This is the law. This is what we have that defines righteous or honorable or dishonorable actions. Anger. Anger is not something that shouldn't be an attribute of Christians. I mean, God and Christ both showed examples of anger. In Matthew 21, verse 12, and Jesus went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. Notice that he says, it is written. He was referring to the law. I mean, he was the Word of God. He knew everything in here, because that's the answer that he gives. It is written. This qualifies my judgment on this. This is why this is wrong. This relates back to here. So we are called to be like Christ, being called Christians, there is a righteous judgment. If this is against something, it's written in here. This is our guide. This is our law that we rest upon, our truths and promises. In Matthew chapter 4, kind of all over the place here, but verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards an hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command these stones be made bread. And here we see in that, make provision for your flesh, and as we've been talking, you've been talking, past few weeks, make no provision for the flesh. But he answered and said, It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. So, even in correcting the devil here, he says, and he refers back, it's written here, this is my law, this is where I'm coming from here. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and setteth him on a pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou shalt be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. And see, he kind of turned it around here, and he said, well, it's also written here, that it says here, but this is also, trying to make a provision, trying to tempt God, well, do this, if you say you're God, you can do this, so do it, it's just trying to turn this around, trying to take it out of context. Jesus said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. So all throughout that, he refers back to this. This is the law. This is what I'm coming from. This is where I'm basing these judgments off of. This is why these things would be dishonorable. This is why these things would be just making a provision for the flesh. So as salt and light, to be to preserve the faith that was once delivered unto the saints. We are called to preserve that faith. We are called to fight, to contend for the faith. And in Jude, and really the whole chapter of Jude, but specifically in verse 3, Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that you should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. So we're tasked with this commission, to contend for that faith, to fight for it, to not give up ground in that area. We are also light. We are God's light into this world to expose those things that are being committed against His church, His body, because every day it seems to get darker, in this world, and I just think that that with so much darkness, this is more true now than ever. To be that salt and light, to be that thing that brings these things out, and you can see that happening kind of in the news and in political things, things coming out, things being brought out, and there's going to be some of that, and there's going to be still some of these things that are covered up, that are hidden, And I just think that we need to be careful, because that we can get entangled with these things. Are a snare for God's people set. We do need to put action with words. It's not just a preaching against or giving our opinions. It's an action thing. It's we may need to go into a place and turn over the tables. And this type of thing. I mean, because we are called to expose and to be a salt, to preserve that faith, and to act as a cleansing to that, to these things that come against God's people.